Good morning. Shalom to everyone from Avi Lipkin here in DFW. Great to be with you again. Great to be alive. And as you all know, this has been a very historic week, not only for Israel, but for the whole world, for the United States, for the whole world. And I want you to know I would keep getting these confirmations about how happy I am. I voted for President Trump. And because we could not have finished the job in Ferdo without the U.S. Air Force, without B-2s. This has been a week of highs. And now in Israel, they're already backstabbing Netanyahu about the hostages and about elections and about election reform. And it's unbelievable how the deep state people always pick up the cudgels to fight Netanyahu whenever they get the possibility. And ignore the fabulous work that Netanyahu also has been doing. But I'm very very happy. I'm happy to be here in the States doing my work. I took it into consideration that I might be stuck here in the United States. I'm stuck, but I could not think of a better country and a better area like Texas. Excuse me, my dear friends up from New York City, from Long Island. I'll be with you guys at the end of the trip, God willing. But I love Texas and I love the U.S. and I'm very much at home here. And I'm happy to be able to work because in Israel for 2 years I didn't work other than do Zooms, which is just chatting with you guys, which I love to do. Anyway, so I've been in the States almost a month now, and I have another month to go. And hopefully, God willing, get back to Israel alive and well and mission accomplished. As you all probably know, the nuclear project in Iran it has been virtually terminated. And even if the backstabbing Ayatollah regime wants to continue with the nuclear program, it'll take them many years. And by then, as long as President Trump is president and Netanyahu is prime minister, they can expect to be hit from all directions if they try to pull something off. We have the same situation with Hezbollah and Lebanon, that they have been greatly hurt by the Israeli attacks and the beepers. Gaza is still being ground down. Everything is very quiet in the Israeli news. I know the Israeli military is continuing doing its job in Gaza. And it seems the Houthis are quiet, though they threaten to escalate in the Red Sea and around their coast. So things, I think for now, we have been given a very, very good immunization shot by Israel and the U.S. And I don't know. I think that God has showed, this is all from God. God has shown how the enemies of Israel get scattered and destroyed. And those who love God, the Jews and the Christians, see a much better day today. And I'm very excited to be part of that. So I'm here in Texas. And like I said, I'm heading up to Oklahoma, Tulsa, and to Rogers, Arkansas, transferring one of my depositories of books to save some money, and then come back to Dallas next week. And then probably around 4th of July, I'll start heading out to Odessa, Big Spring, Amarillo. And in Amarillo, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but there is some kind of talk about having a very nice meeting for me in Amarillo. And then I don't know if I'm going to make it up to Colorado, but it's a 7-hour drive from Amarillo. So I'll probably drive up to the Front Range, speak in 1 or 2 or 3 churches. And then I don't know yet what I'm going to do with Susan, with you. I don't know if I should drive back to New York and leave the car with you, or, Aaron is saying, sell the car.
Sell the car.
And I say to Aaron, listen, this is my girlfriend, the car. I love that. I love that car. I love driving that van here in the United States. It's like flying a 747. And I carry all my books. And Aaron says, you're not 18 anymore. So I said to my son, I'm 19. So But anyway, so you know what? I know that if I register with Carvana or CarMax or I don't know what it's called, they can sell your car in a day. So buy it and sell it. But then I'm without a car, and that car is like my anchor here in the United States. I come back and my car is waiting for me. That's a wonderful feeling. I hate rental cars. Anyway, so that's the situation. Texas to Arkansas, back to Texas, then westward to Odessa, Amarillo, Colorado, and then probably back to Texas, and then catch a flight up to MacArthur Airport and be with you guys. Be with Susan and your New York group. Anyway, that is the summary of what's going on now, and I'll be happy to take questions if anyone has questions.
Hi, can you hear me?
Who is this? I
This
don't
is
have a computer, so I can't see who's online. Just I hear
Hi,
voices.
this is Ari Goldberg. Good morning, Avi.
Hi, Ari. Good morning.
Um, we've been hearing some rumors about needing to be concerned about Iranian or Hezbollah sleeper cells in the U.S. that Iran may want to activate as a way of retaliating against America. And I was looking through my old articles, and this guy, Joseph Bodansky, you may remember the name. He was an advisor to Congress about terrorism going back to the Reagan administration. So for 40 years, he's been saying that there's an extensive Islamic network of sleeper cells just waiting to be is told to go into motion. And so if I would imagine it's grown even bigger since the 80s. So how are they likely to act when the Iranian regime is so nearly decimated and seemingly don't have the leadership that they normally have?
Well, firstly, I go back to that time, to Josip Bodansky. My wife gave me reports in 1995 that the Islamic terrorists were going to blow up the World Trade Center. And everyone thought she was crazy. And then when I put it in my first book, is Fanatic Islam, a Global Threat, everyone thought I was crazy. And then after it happened, they said, Avi's a prophet. Avi's a prophet. I said, I'm not a prophet. I listened to my wife. And my wife was talking about this in 1995 after she saw this on the Arabic language TV stations. That the bottom line, there are two types of Islam. There's the revolutionary Islam and there's the evolutionary Islam. And the revolutionary Islam says that there's no hope for America. It is the great Christian Satan and it has to be destroyed. The evolutionary Islam says different. It says we can convert America into an Islamic country through hijrah, through immigration and through money and through bribery. And actually, so we see the second one, the evolutionary one, actually in progress. I get into a lot of trouble for saying that, in my opinion, there are 30 million Muslims in America today. When the 19 terrorists attacked on 9/11, there was a lot less, maybe 10 million. But we have had open borders. We have had presidents, including Republican, who approved these illegal uh, immigrant flights into the U.S. of Muslim terrorists and Muslims who were not vetted. And so basically, yes, Ari, there are tens of thousands of Islamic terrorists, highly motivated in the U.S., ready to carry out attacks. And I've been saying this since my first book in 1997. And the problem here is my message is considered politically incorrect. So I'm not allowed to speak in synagogues or most Christian churches. There are a few Christian churches and messianic groups and independent groups that have me speak. But the point is, if you cannot get the warning out that these terrorists are here to destroy America and destroy Christianity, forget about Judaism. You destroy Christianity, you destroy Judaism. These are things that are so obvious. And your point is very well taken. Yes, yes, I would say definitely we are facing Islamic terrorist threats. I think what is making them a little more moderate is the Muslims saying we don't have to carry out Islamic terrorism. All we have to do is continue our immigration into the U.S., reach 40 million, 50 million, and then force the non-Muslim Americans to vote for us. And here you even have this mayoral candidate in New York City who's a complete socialist Muslim nutcase, and people are saying maybe he's going to win against Cuomo. So I'm watching the news, I'm watching all the American TV. It's funny in my room, and I have two radios working at the same time in Israel. I have the what do you call it, the TV here in the hotel watching Fox. Uh, the writing is on the wall, and Americans are woefully inadequate, woefully unprepared for what's about to happen because they don't know what's going on, and I can't speak except to this group.
Well, I mean, I think currently the FBI director Patel is probably interested in finding out the extent of it, unless he's totally ignorant of it. I hope he's kind of asking questions in terms of what do we know about this threat and what can we do about it.
By the way, did you ever hear of Pakistan? Now,
Sure.
Pakistan, they used to be all Hindus. And then Islam came, converted them to Islam. And now Pakistan is one of the craziest Muslim countries in the world. And they're even saying Pakistan might lend some of its nuclear weapons to Iran to continue fighting Israel, dropping atomic bombs on Israel. So, let me tell you, Patel is Indian background. I don't know if he's still a Hindu or he became a believer, but whatever. I mean, the people of India know what Islam is. They've suffered enough with them. And Israel has actually a very strong alliance with India. So we're watching that too. I think, you cannot say that Patel doesn't know what's going on. He knows what's going on. But the extent of what's going on is so tremendous that no matter how much the FBI knows, it'll never have the full picture because there's so many undocumented runaways who got away from the law enforcement. And I think that even weaponries have been smuggled under the border in tunnels from Mexico into the United States. And you know what? Canada also has open borders with America, and these terrorists come across from Canada. And then you have the illegals flying in.
Right. And did you ever know about an author named Paul Williams, I believe his name was? He found some Muslim like militia training camps out in the woods of upstate New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio, places
Right.
like that.
I definitely heard of him. You have to remember, I'm old. I'm 76. And all these people that you're talking about were writing about these things 20, 30 years ago. And of course, nobody was listening to them.
Yeah. But should we take a little comfort from the fact that Hezbollah did not get involved in this recent Iran-Israel war, and maybe there's nobody there to really give the order to the Hezbollah sleeper cells in the U.S. to go into action?
I would say something else also. I remember in 1966, were you alive in 1966?
Yes.
1966, I came here to the States for 6 weeks to study Hebrew. I didn't make Aliyah yet. I just came to study Hebrew. And we were taken up to the Lebanese border in 1966. Okay, this is before the Six-Day War. And we were told that Lebanon was famous because it was going to be the second Arab country to make peace with Israel. And what happened was Lebanon has always been under the heels of Syria. And so Lebanon did not make peace with Israel. And also Lebanon is fragmented into Christian, Druze, Sunni, and Shia. So because of the inordinate amount of power held by the Hezbollah, the Lebanese were too afraid to make peace with Israel. The Lebanese meaning everyone except the Shia. And then after the Jeepers Creepers, where did you get those beepers? all of a sudden Hezbollah has been broken down, there's still more work to be done. But the world is hamstringing Israel. Israel's not able to do it under the present circumstances. But I know that President Trump wants the Abrahamic covenant between Lebanon and Israel. And I think there will be some kind of an agreement with the Lebanese government, which is distancing itself from Hezbollah. And so we're going to see the Abraham Accords make a peace agreement with Lebanon, which I thoroughly, thoroughly welcome. I'm very happy about it if and when it happens. And if Hezbollah starts disrupting, then I think you will see a coalition of different Lebanese factions, France and the United States. They're going to put the Hezbollah out of business completely. And you have to remember, when the Israelis came in 1982 into Lebanon, they were greeted with rice and flowers by the Shiite population. And then Iran came in and killed everybody who wanted to have peace with Israel. And so you were left with a group of very, very militant marching order Islamic terrorists who were Shiites. But another thing I want to tell you, I'm going to answer something you kind of mentioned, but you didn't mention. The Islamic world now is made up of 85% Sunnis and 15% Shiites. And the Shiites have been, led by Iran, have been behaving in a very stupid manner, because the Shiites will be destroyed by the Sunnis if the Sunnis decide to destroy them. Israel could have been a great ally for the Shiites. And actually now the Shiites in Damascus and in the north of Syria, they're begging Israel to protect them. The Shiites are asking Israel to protect them from the Sunnis, from Julani, Ahmed Sarah. So if the Shiites had any brains, they would have allied themselves with Israel to have a very valuable ally to protect them from the Sunnis. But instead, what do? They attack Israel. Iran attacks Israel. So the Sunnis are happy. I mean, the Sunnis see Israel destroying the Shiites, and they'll be happy to finish the job. We should never forget that the ISIS people were saying, before they chopped off the heads of Shiites, they would say, we hate you guys more than we hate the Jews. So that's something to consider.
Now, this recent ceasefire took me by surprise. In a way, I mean, we've seen over and over again over the years Israel being forced to go into a ceasefire before they completely defeated the enemy. But I was hoping that the fighting would continue long enough for the Iranian regime to be weakened to the point where the people rise up and overthrow them and get new leadership. So what does this ceasefire mean in terms of the prospects of overthrowing the Ayatollah regime?
Avi,
Okay.
Avi,
Yes.
wasn't the ceasefire broken already, like within an hour?
Yeah. But
Okay.
the Israelis said to Trump, we're going to have basically a waving bye-bye to Iran. And so they took out some radar installation in the north of Iran. But no, Israel, if Trump says ceasefire, there's going to be ceasefire. But if they shoot a missile at a house in a building in Beersheba and 5 people are killed.
I was about to say, I thought they did. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
So Israel had to retaliate, and Trump had to show that he's angry with Israel, and all the ducks will line up very soon. So I think that the ceasefire, at least for now, will hold. I do think that the Iranian international terrorism is, of course, something Ari mentioned. But again, don't forget, most of the Muslims in America are not Shiite; they are Sunni. And I don't know how excited the Sunnis are to follow orders from the Shiites. Again, you've got this schism that goes back 1,500 years. So I'm sure the FBI now that we have a regime change in Washington, the FBI is doing its job properly and not stooges from the Democrat Party.
But why did Trump want Israel to be in a ceasefire? Because they're still trying to destroy the missile launchers, because they still have, what is it, half or nearly half of the missile launchers left that are capable of using their stockpile to keep hitting Israel.
We don't even know what the Iranians have. They have maybe even more. And a lot of this is hidden. And don't forget, Pakistan is offering nuclear components to shortcut them to a bomb. So we're very, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the Israelis attacked in Mashhad. Mashhad is in the northeast of Iran. It's the farthest target that Israel has had to reach. And there was a message to the Pakistanis that we can reach Pakistan if we have to. Hey, listen, the B-2 bombers went 40 hours without landing.
But again, another ceasefire is bad for Israel because it means, Iran can lick its wounds and get stronger again, and the people will be oppressed, and the regime can start rebuilding the threat. And maybe it won't even, like you say, maybe with help from Pakistan or their hidden nuclear materials somewhere, maybe it won't even take that long as people think.
Well, we have our spies in Iran. Iran is full of the Mossad, whether they're Israeli or Iranians. The work is not finished. From what I knew, the IRGC, the fanatic Gestapo of Iran, had 2,000 soldiers. Israel destroyed 500, killed 500 of them. So I really don't know what they have available. You have to remember, saying to the Iranian people, rise up against the Ayatollahs is like saying to the Germans at the end of World War II, rise up against Hitler. And you had the assassination attempt on Hitler, and you know what the Nazis did to all those officers. So you cannot just rise up against the Nazi regime. You cannot just rise up against the Ayatollah regime, no matter how much we all love the Iranian people. And we love the Iranian people.
Well, of course, with no air defense.
Do you see the Russians rising up against Putin?
No, I agree with you that the IRGC is brutal and they're still strong enough to put down any rebellion, but the ceasefire prevents that even the possibility of a rebellion at least progressing to the point where it's feasible.
Okay, now listen to me. I don't want to sound like a defeatist, but you know that Israel has been fighting virtually 2 years on 7 fronts. And we've been fighting alone. We had, of course, the armaments that were provided by Biden, and of course, the really needed armaments provided by President Trump. And we've had some assistance from the American-led allies. But the fighting boots on the ground was Israeli boots on the ground. And I have to tell you something. You live in America. I'm in America right now, but I live in Israel. And I hear the exhaustion, the mental anguish of the Israeli soldiers, the mental anguish of the Israeli people. And I think it's fair to say we are ready for a ceasefire. We need a break. And so maybe the Iranians will reorganize and regroup, but so will we. And, I know that you and everyone on this Zoom and we all believe in God. God has a plan. But even for God's plan, sometimes the human beings need a break. And so Israel is really, really needing a break. We have to build those buildings rebuild those buildings that got destroyed. We've got to help people, get them out of the hospitals, get them home. They have to go through, how shall I say, they have to heal themselves from this horrible, horrible mental anguish of the war. And, I'll tell you, even myself, I live in Kedar, and we have a neighbor who I call him my adopted son, because my 2 sons live in other communities. And his son got killed. So his son was like a grandson for us. And so, and every community in Israel has lost at least 1 or 2 of its men fighting. And in some cases, women who were in our military got killed. So listen, 2 years war, as stupid as this Gaza war is, because it's crazy. how we didn't see it coming. It was the perfect scam that Gaza played on us, and then Hezbollah. But that's how God works, and that's how God destroyed Gaza. God destroyed Lebanon. I mean, destroyed the enemies of Israel and Syria, and now Iran. So you know what? Sometimes you need a breather. A boxer can fight to the 15th round, but he needs a break every between each round.
Yeah, I sympathize, and I've been posting on X.com, formerly Twitter, that the United States shares a big responsibility for creating and the UK, for creating the Islamic regime in the first place, because we toppled Mossadegh for nationalizing the oil industry, and then we put the Shah in, and then we toppled the Shah under Carter, and supposedly the reason was to counter Soviet expansionism, in Asia and so forth. But we put the Ayatollah in power, and then we walk away and we say we don't want to get involved, and we leave Israel to clean up the mess by having to
Correct.
fight Hezbollah and Iran and everybody else. It's irresponsible. Irresponsible. I'm all for not getting involved in regime change overseas, and we should defend American interests, but if we create a problem, then we're responsible to fix it.
You heard of the expression "kicking the can down the road"?
Yeah.
That's what American presidents have been doing for 45 years. And finally, Trump said enough is enough, stupidity and irresponsibility. And so Trump agrees with you too. And the point is, Iran was only a few days away from nuclear weapons. So Israel had to attack, and the United States had to be with Israel. And these weapons would be turned against America.
Right. And
We still,
yeah.
you know what? Do you remember? I don't know, was there a movie about smuggling in of backpacks into the United States, nuclear backpacks? So I think it was a movie called The Peacemaker with George Clooney. So you should see that movie. A little outrageous because it blames the Serbs. Serbs would never do that. They're Christian. But I think it's feasible to smuggle in backpacks into the States, and they got tunnels into San Diego and other places.
Right.
And there's a lot of money, including from the cartels, for digging tunnels under the border. So we shouldn't be surprised by all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you say, I'm glad that there's a cease. I understand your relief at the ceasefire, but it's the same old playbook all over again. There's a ceasefire after every war that Israel is involved in.
But I have to tell you something, Ari. The one of the problems, I don't want to say the major problem that Netanyahu has to deal with, is this dinosaur relic, which is running the Israeli bureaucracy and the court systems, and all the generals in the army are approved by globalists, one world government people who, like America, they don't want to hear anything bad about Islam. And I have to tell you, I'm the founder and leader of the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party. And you know what? The Messianics understand me. The few Christians that I know in Israel understand me. Some of the Orthodox Jews understand me, and very few of the secular Jews understand me. We have a problem with the Soviet socialist, iron-fisted leadership, which is ruling Israel in spite of the Likud and in spite of Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has his primary job still in front of him, which is to take his time, get rid of these left-wing holdovers, and bring in people from the people, not the non-elected elites. So that's what we're seeing in Israel.
Speaking of the Christians in Israel, there's a schism in the U.S. I'm sure it's even worse in Israel. Most of the Arab Christians, especially the ones, in Judea and Samaria and so forth, um, are they hold to replacement theology, right? They don't even believe that the land, that God promised the land to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So what is the state of that? But are there Christians in Israel that do support Israel's God-given right to the land? What is the state of that disagreement between Christians in Israel, between replacement theology and ones that believe in Israel's right to the land?
You know, I have to tell you something. I love the Christians. I love all Christians. I also love Christians in America. But Texas Christians ain't Arab Christians. And my wife, Rachel, grew up in Egypt. And there's a group there called the Coptic Christians. They're Orthodox Christians. And she said to me, they hate the Jews even more than the Muslims do, which is very strange, it sounds to me. I don't know if you remember Senator Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz went to a meeting, I think, in Washington of Syrian Christians, emigres, and he got up to make a speech, got booed. He said, Israel is your best friend. And see, he's a Texas, Florida Christian, but the Syrian Christians booed him. They didn't want to hear about it. They hate the Jews. And you have to remember, you have the classic anti-Semitic replacement theology, Arab Christian churches, whether they're Catholic or Orthodox. So there's a problem. But for example, I don't want to mention names, but I have a few Arab Christian friends who have sizable constituencies, and I'm trying to convince them to join my party. And they're very hesitant because Christians hate Christians and Catholics hate Orthodox. And now we have Russian speakers who came in who are either Russian Orthodox or Catholic. We have Ethiopian, Amharic Jews who came, some of them Christian believers. And I've got Ethiopians on my team that are going to work to get votes from them. So I need 150,000 votes for the elections. We have 400,000 believers who speak Russian. I've got a campaign in 5 languages and I have zero budget. So that's completely crazy. But, I don't care. God has his plan and I'll do what I can do. And I'm 76. Maybe God will allow me to live till 120. I hope by 120 I'll be a member of Knesset. But until then, this is the purpose of my life. I live for this. But yes, you're right. There are Christians who hate Christians. I have one Arab Christian up in the north, and he is a born-again believer. But he said to me, I don't want to hear about Messianics. They hate the Messianics. Messianics have the synthesis of the good of the Jews and the Christians, but they also have a synthesis of the bad of the Jews and the Christians. I don't care. I don't judge anybody. I love everybody. Whoever joins my party, welcome.
I'm a little bit unclear on who this large number of Russian immigrants that came into Israel, what was it, 20 years ago or something. I I thought I heard that many of them are not Jewish. Do they have a
Correct.
Jewish spouse
Correct.
or something? What is the deal with that?
Wait a second. Not only are you right that they have Jewish spouses and family members, 2 million came from the former Russian speaking countries, 2 million. 400,000 are not Jewish, period. They are maybe 50-50 or 25-75. We don't know the who's who. But you know what? I have been predicting a Holocaust in the States because you have the Muslims, you have the neo-Nazis, you have the Black Lives Matter, Louis Farrakhan group, Antifa. One bullet kills Trump, God forbid. And all of a sudden there's going to be a Holocaust of millions of Jews. And, we Jews are crazy. We hate the Christians till we marry them. So we got 6 million Jews in America married to 4 million Christians or, non-Jews. Either they move to Israel or they die. So what happened with Russia with 2 million is going to repeat itself with the Jews coming from the West, which is 10 million. But our population is going to double and our borders are going to double and triple. So all of this, these are the times of the Messiah. So our work is to overcome the hatreds of 2,000 years. Christians have to stop hating Christians. Jews have to stop hating Jews. And Jews and Christians have to stop hating each other.
But was there some kind of exception made for all those non-Jewish Russian immigrants? It doesn't seem normal that Israel would allow so many Gentiles to become citizens?
Okay, first, let me correct you. Christians are not Gentiles. The Muslims are the Gentiles. Gentiles means pagans, the nations, those who were not on Mount Sinai with Moses. Now, if you believe in Jesus Christ, that's wonderful. You are grafted in to Judaism through Jesus Christ. So you're not a pagan anymore. I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying those who say that, hey, we are Gentiles and the Jews are our brothers. No, 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 no. Jews and Christians are part of the olive tree. Jews are the branch of the roots. Christians are the branches. So the reason the non-Jews were allowed in was, yes, because they were married to Jews, or they had 50-50 genes of Jews, or 75-25 genes of Jews. And that's how we got all these hundreds of thousands of believers. But they are either believers or non-believers in anything. And I've got to reach these people because they also deserve representation in the Knesset.
Now, have they assimilated properly into Israel? Are they loyal? Are they a part of the Israeli? Have they blended in? Do they have Israeli Jewish friends and so forth, or are they their own community, separate community?
No, there is no such thing as separate community. They have blended in. You have to remember, a lot of these people who came from the former Soviet Union were old people, and they died. The younger ones went into the army. Once you go into the army, there's no such thing as Christian or Jewish. You are Israeli, and some people, some of them want to convert to Judaism. So it's a very interesting sociological subject, but there is no such thing as a Russian-speaking autonomous community. No, they're part of the country.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to hear.
It's going to happen again with American Jews and Christians. I get condemned in many Jewish circles, for saying that 6 million Jews are going to make Aliyah with 4 million Christian spouses and relatives. So what's going to happen with the West is 5 times greater than what happened with the Russians. So we're going to go up to 20 million population from 10 million.
So tell me more about the Christians in Israel proper. I realize the Messianics are a separate group, but in terms of the non-Jewish Christians, are they loyal to Israel? Do they believe in replacement theology? I mean, are they really they care about the security of Israel? They're loyal?
I would say all in all, yes. All in all, yes. I think that, like I said before, the great equalizer is the Israeli army. And, we have a lot of Messianics in the Israeli army, too. And they fight like the Dickens. They're good fighters.
Right. Also, I'm curious about the the 2 million Arab Israelis. Most of them are Muslim. There's some Christians, but
Right.
why is it taking so long for them to realize that, hey, Israel they're Israelis. They have to defend the country. They have to be in favor of security. They have to just embrace being Israeli. They have to try to make friends with Jews. They have to tell them that they want to serve in the army. There seems to be they want to have their own schools, their own communities. They don't real they seem to support, don't they support like disarmament, or they're not in favor of tough security and defense spending in the Knesset and so forth. I mean, what's going on with the integration of the 2 million Arabs into Israeli society?
Well, firstly, you say friends. Let's be friends. Kumbaya. The problem with that is in chapter 5, verse 51 of the Quran, it says, believers, Muslims, take neither the Jews nor the Christians for your friends. The Jews and the Christians are friends with one another. Whoever befriends them will become one of them. Allah does not guide the wrongdoer. For a Muslim to be a friend of a Jew or a Christian is a death sentence. And if it is discovered in the Islamic Ummah, the Islamic nation, that you are a Muslim but you have Jewish friends, they have to kill you, and they will.
And so, but not all. I'm not arguing with you, but I'm wondering whether all the Arabs really believe the Quran, or are they just nominal Muslims and they don't really care and they'd be willing to make friends with Jews anyway?
Were there nominal Nazis? The
No.
Germans, the Germans could not love the Jews because they would be killed if the Nazis found out that they loved the Jews. This is exactly the situation with Islam. Now,
Okay.
there are Muslims in Israel who serve in the Israeli army. They have become ambassadors of goodwill for the Israeli government, but they are exceptions. They are exceptions to the rule.
And aren't they mainly the Bedouins? They're friendlier than the other
Not only,
ones.
not only you've got Arabs from different parts of the country, Arab Muslims, and they volunteer and they do a good job. The question is, are these people loving people or are they hating people? If they love the Jews, then they're not Muslims. They're not good Muslims anymore.
Well, and are they, like you say, are they risking retribution from the Muslim leadership? I mean, it's dangerous for them to join the IDF and to be friends with Jews, right?
You are right. You are right. So there are those who say, to hell with the Muslim fanaticism. We're Israeli, and we're gonna join the Israeli government and the Israeli army, and they work for the Israeli Foreign Ministry. And these are Muslims who are good people. They're friends.
Yeah.
I have to tell you something also. We have a group in Israel called the Circassians. The Circassians are Turks. They're Sunni Muslims, and they're not Arabs. And they serve in the Israeli army. And so these are Muslims who serve Israel. They work with Israel. And of course, the Jews are the best fighters we have. They're not Arabs, but they speak Arabic. But listen, I never say that all Arabs are bad or I hate the Arabs. I love the Arabs. I married a woman from Egypt because I love the Arabic culture, Lawrence of Arabia, the whole, the whole Megillah. But those people who follow the devil follow Allah. And, you have to agree with me. Allah is the devil. Allah is not God. Once you understand that, people who distance themselves from Satan become good people. They become loving people.
Well, but if you say like you say, if the Muslims, 2 million Arabs in Israel, if they're not free to become loyal Israelis, then Israel has a problem in their midst. It's almost like, I mean, you compared the situation to Nazi Germany. I mean, that's not a good situation for Israel to be dealing with that indefinitely, right?
I agree 100%. And, I've said this over the last 35 years. In my personal opinion, there will not be peace until Islam is banned. There
Wow.
is there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim. But I'll take whatever I can get. If there are Muslims who love Israel, love the Jewish people, and want to work with us, that's fine with me. I don't hate them.
Well, and I think we ought to do the same thing with not just Muslims, but communists in the United States. I mean, if your ideology is for using violence to spread a global adoption of your ideology, whether it's communism or Islam, you want to replace the Constitution with Sharia law, or you want to replace it with the dictatorship of the proletariat, then I'm sorry, you're not fit to stay in America. Why should America tolerate you? They
I
should
agree.
they
I
should
agree.
kick you out of the country. So
Send them back to
what
send
is
them
the
back to
Israeli
Russia.
attitude? What is the Israeli government's attitude about tolerating people that hold to an insurrectionist ideology?
The Israeli leadership is insurrectionist ideology. They're communists. They're socialists. That's why Netanyahu is fighting them. They don't believe in God. They believe in the proletariat, of course, the solidarity of all the nations. That's nonsense. I was
Well,
on radio. I was on radio Moscow in 1994. I spoke in Russian, and I said the Russian people should wake up. Mother Russia is Christian, and you have to fight the Muslims. He said, no, we believe in solidarity of the nations. I said, you've been fighting the Turks for 1,000 years. What are you talking about? And then he said to me, you know what? You're right. It was a good, animated conversation. But
Yes.
you have a lot of you have a lot of people in the Israeli administration, holdovers for the last 70 years, and they're ultra lefties.
Well, well, here the left really hates everything that America and Western civilization stand for. I mean, they hate
Right.
capitalism, they hate Christianity, they hate, the white people because they had black slaves and so forth. And so they're really like they're undermining our security in many ways. So I mean, but in Israel, it's you wouldn't say it's the same in Israel, would you? At least in Israel, even though they're on the left, they're loyal to the security of Israel. They're not undermining the security of Israel. Are
So
I mean,
wait a second. I disagree.
okay.
Why did Ronen Bar of the GSS, like our FBI, why did he not tell Netanyahu at 11 p.m. on October the 6th that there was going to be an imminent invasion from Gaza? Why did he didn't tell Netanyahu did not know till 6:30 in the morning, but Ronen Bar knew that there was war coming. He didn't even tell the thousands and thousands of kids who came to dance at the Nova party. He didn't tell them go home immediately. He said, let them burn, let them die. This is a leftist. This is an example of the duplicity of the left-wing people in Israel. And these people have to be purged.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what is the Israeli public opinion about these revelations about Ronen Bar? I mean, it's treason what he
Nobody
did.
cares. Nobody cares. 80%, they know about it. They think something should be done. But if you go against the left, you know what happens? Your Air Force will not fly because all the pilots have signed papers that they're going to be with the left because they were all approved by the left. We do not have too many right-wing people as pilots. In other words, you want to be a pilot in the Israeli Air Force, you have to be a lefty. All this crap has to be removed. All this has to be purged out.
Wait, say that now. Just go into that more. How are the pilots committed, or how are they made to be loyal to the left?
Well, you see, the pilots come from the greater Tel Aviv area and Haifa, which is left-wing territory. And so they do not let in the blacks. They don't let in the blacks, the darker Jews or the right-wing Jews. They have a selection method where you have to have a what do you call it, a pedigree. You have to have a
Yeah.
pedigree of being a left-wing family to get into the Air Force. That's changing now. But 300 of the top people in the Air Force signed a letter that they were refusing order. And then Netanyahu pulled back from the from the judicial reform, and they came back.
Yeah, so
The
what you're
war,
saying is there's a holdover from from the 1950s when the Middle East North African Jews first came into Israel. There was real racism on the part of the Ashkenazi, the labor Zionists. They didn't really treat them with full equality. And now you're saying that's still going on.
I have to tell you, when Rachel and I met, and we fell in love, and we decided to get married, and we had to go to all the different authorities, to register the marriage, and they were saying to me, "How do you marry one of these people?" Because my wife was from Egypt.
Right. Well, actually, my cousins are with you. I have my uncle grew up in San Francisco, but he moved to Israel right before the 1948 war, and he married a Sabra, and they had three boys, and and two of the boys married Jews from one of them was a Yemenite Jew, and another one was from a Syrian Jew. So they were just like you. They married people from that were not Ashkenazi. They were Sephardi or Mizrahi.
Right. No, you're right. I see that you understand me very well, and you understand the situation very well. And when they fired me from the prime minister's office in 1990, they said, "We know your political views. You're fired, and you will never, ever again have a job in the government. We will put lies in your file." This is very communist. "We'll put lies in your file, and you never, ever again will get a job." And they were right. I never got a job. Who saved me? The Christians and the Messianics.
Wait. Now, what are you saying? This was because you married a
No,
Jew
no, no, no,
in
no. There,
Egypt?
there are two. There are two groups in the opposition. You have the Sephardic Jews, and then you have the right wing Beitar Jews. I was with the Beitar group, and let me tell you, I had a long record of activities in university showing how right wing I was. This is in 1968, 69, 1970. So let me tell you, I was on every government blacklist as a right wing activist.
Oh, I see. So, but they let you work in the government for a while, but then they found out about your background. What happened there?
No, no, no. I was appointed. I was allowed in by the Likud government, but the lady who of the civil service was socialist. She didn't like me at all from day one, but she had to accept me. But when my job came up for a tenure, and I asked for my tenure, they said you'll never have tenure. We're going to fire you because of your political views.
Oh, I see.
So I'm kind of like Joseph. I was kicked out of my country by my brethren, and Egypt took me in. So in this case, America took me in.
So, were you aligned with, did you study Zev Jabotinsky and that movement
Of
of,
course, you ever hear of Beitar? Beitar is the youth movement of Jabotinsky.
no, I don't know much about that.
Yeah. Beitar was founded in 1923. And what was happening was you had pogroms, the killing of the Jews throughout Europe. And so some of the Jews who became nationalists decided to fight back. And that's the group that I joined.
Um,
But the socialists were saying, no, 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 we're not going to be nationalists. We believe the one new man in Marx instead of the one new man in Christ, the one new man in Marx. So and they hated us. And I'll tell you something else also. 1922 was the break between the nationalist Jews and the communist Jews because the nationalists supported Mussolini. Don't forget, in 1922, Mussolini was a very popular man. He wasn't a Nazi, and he did great things for Italy at first. And also, Mussolini trained the Beitar sailors on how to be captains of the ships. And so many of the Israeli ships on the sea today are captained, or the fathers were captains appointed by Mussolini. So people don't know these things. So it's okay. Part of
well,
it
so
history.
what were your American Jewish relatives? Were they more in the socialist labor Zionist camp, or were they like you? Were they Jabotinsky Zionists?
Neither. Most of my family was not involved in anything, and that's very typical of the Jewish community.
Okay,
So
because
I became a Zionist, and by the way, age 15, I wrote to Ben Gurion, who was a socialist, and he convinced me to move to Israel. So 19, I moved to Israel.
oh, you wrote to him and he wrote you back?
I wrote him 5 letters. He answered me 2. I was batting 400.
Yeah. Well, all my relatives are, typical liberal Democrat Jews, and I became a conservative. So I'm kind of an anomaly. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family in that way.
You're describing me now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, listen, I'm going to have to go pretty soon. If anyone else has any remarks or questions, I'm open to them. And then I have to get ready for the other Zoom with Brand Fricker.
Thank you, Avi.
I want you to know I love talking to you. I hear the things that you say, and it's great to have an alter ego.
One of these days, I want to get into, I've been researching some of the background on the founding of Israel and the way the British establishment has been trying to control Israel behind the scenes. It's very interesting. It explains a lot about
And the people who were controlled by the British were the lefties, the socialists.
right. The leadership, yeah, the leadership
Yeah,
of Israel.
yeah.
And
I was with the rebels, with the right wing
and
rebels.
there's still control. I believe to some extent Netanyahu is controlled by the same globalists that are squeezing Israel for their own New World Order purposes.
Well, in many ways, he has no choice.
Yeah, exactly. If otherwise, if you don't go along, you end up like JFK or Rabin or somebody like that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know what? I have to tell you, without going into detail, because I'm 76 years old and there's too much detail, I'm very, very surprised I'm still alive.
Yeah, it's not
It's good.
easy being going against the establishment. It's dangerous
Right,
to go
right.
against the establishment. It's true. It's very true.
But actually, today, praise God, my kind of thinking is the establishment with President Trump.
Yeah, I hope so. He says the right things, but I'm afraid that he's not tough enough on controlling government spending. If the deficits keep going out of hand, we're just going
I
to.
think, listen, if the American debt is 36 trillion and he went to the Gulf and got 5 trillion, it's a dent. It's a small dent, but it's the beginning of healing the economy. I'm very optimistic Trump will do the right thing, that he is doing the right thing.
Okay.
And for
Hi,
what he did,
Avi.
oh, Angela.
Hi, I was going to say something, but I saw Helen has been waiting, so I'll let Helen go before me.
Okay, fire
Yeah.
away.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead, Angela.
Oh, okay. I was just noticing, Avi, that Tehran's having a victory parade today, 5:30 Israeli time, and you know, I'm glad there's a ceasefire, but on the other hand, I think maybe some other things could have been achieved.
You know, there's a
But
saying in English. There's a saying in English: "Pride before the fall."
yeah, yeah,
With these crazy
yeah.
Ayatollah people, I'm promising you, you're going to see pride
I
before the
hope
fall.
so. So
And I'll tell you something: the Israeli Mossad people, the Iranian opposition people, they are all there, and they are
yeah,
working to continue to undermine the Ayatollahs. And I'm very optimistic that the day is not too far off that this regime will be removed and the Iranian people have at least some kind of freedom.
yeah, let's hope so. But I
Yes.
noticed a plane from China flew in yesterday or today. Um, Obviously they've got interests in the country, but what I'm really concerned about is the proof that they haven't got any more fissile material, and who else could give it to them? Obviously Pakistan, and North Korea have been very generous. But what about China or Russia? Do you think that's a possibility that they would do anything?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. But I will tell you something. Trump has shown, forgive me for saying a very rude word, Trump has shown he's got balls. And if China and Russia and North Korea and Pakistan decide to fool around with Trump, it's not going to be good for them.
mm,
This
yeah,
this Iranian regime has to fall. It has to be
yeah,
replaced. And I'm waiting for Reza Shah, the son of Shah Pahlavi,
yeah.
to come back to Iran.
Well, but has to fall for revive Babylon. But I think I just don't trust things as they are right now, especially
Well,
with
but it's better than it was a week ago.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it is better than it was a week ago. Yeah,
I want you to
and
know I get very emotional about President Trump. I see the things that he's doing also for
mhm,
America, for the American economy.
yeah,
This country was the Titanic when the Democrats were
yeah,
ruling it,
yeah.
and Trump saved the ship.
Oh my gosh, it's clearly complete mercy of hand of God. Can you imagine Kamala with this? Yeah.
Terrible, terrible.
Oh, it just doesn't even want to think about it. But anyway, I know you've got to go on your call, so uh you're in our prayers. Well,
Amen. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Did you say that Helen wanted to ask a question?
I
No,
just
I'm
thought,
fine. Thank you, Abby. Just thank you so much. We really appreciate all you tell us.
Well, listen, I'm going to say something very crazy. Americans originate from England and the Magna Carta, which even though Magna Carta wasn't really a democratic document, but it was the beginning of the signs of democracy in the world. And in my opinion, the only system that works is Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy based on what England and America gave to the world. And you've got these people who are marching backwards, the lefties,
Yes.
but I think that patriotic Americans have to be Christian or Jewish, but believing in Western civilization, and the same in England. And England hopefully will have a revolution very soon and get back normal people. People like Margaret Thatcher, or I don't want to say Boris Johnson. He had too much of a nightlife, maybe. But we have to get some good Christian people. Canada needs a leader like Stephen Harper. I remember these people. They're great leaders, good Christians.
Absolutely.
I agree with you with the contribution of the UK and America, but they got it originally from the Bible. So I credit the Jews for being the first ones to give the world the concept of a republican form of government. I mean, that's what Moses gave the Jews in the Sinai wilderness. It was a body of laws that applied to everybody. Nobody's above the law. The laws don't change. They're just based on love your neighbor, don't harm your neighbor. And then there's no government role in for the economy. There's just a market. People trade, they grow crops, they're blacksmiths and cobblers and various trades, and they run their own economic affairs. And then charity is private. There's no government welfare system because, God loves a cheerful giver. And I mean, I know that the Jews were commanded to leave the corners of their fields for the gleaners, but that's only because the law commanded all good behavior. But what God was telling people is that I command you to be generous, and then eventually the law, when secular governments form, when the world was no longer bound by to be a theocracy like the Moses had in Sinai, then they just let the people develop private charity on their own based on the principles from the Bible.
Okay, listen, I've got to correct you. Forgive me, but
Okay.
in my opinion, the situation that we have today in the modern democratic world is not Jewish only. It is Jewish, Christian, Greek, and Roman. And a lot of the institutions of Greece and Rome were adopted by the rabbis and also by the apostles. And so I look at this as many, many different inputs into the situation that we have today. And so I don't say it's just Moses, because, by the way, Moses took a lot of instruction from Jethro. Jethro was the Saudi sheikh. So, like he was the Kohen Midian, he was the priest of Midian. So what we have today is a conglomeration of all these different ways of thinking, and they all march together. They don't go against each other. What goes against everything is Islam.
Yeah.
And that's why my message is Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy. Anyway, if there's no other specific comment, then I got to get ready for the next Zoom. And I think we had a pretty good meeting this morning. I'm very proud of myself. Ensconced, suffering for Christ in this beautiful hotel in Dallas. And I got to get ready to march. So anyway, God bless you. And you can all pray for my aorta and all my arteries. I don't know what's going on with me. So
We're
today
praying
I'll
for
go
your
to
health.
the...
We're praying for
Yes.
your health, Avi. Get going. We know you're
Yes.
busy. Shalom, and have a great rest of the day and stay safe.